Hello, everybody. It's your favorite VTuber Glitch Demon, and today I will be reading and finishing, finally, the third iteration of Jurassic Park. And yeah, we've come a long way, and I think the part we're at now is when we're going to get the tour and the iconic T-Rex scene and the I don't know, the T-Rex sounds something like that. Um, yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, because the chapter we start on in this third iteration is called Big Rex. I'm at page 161, and the third iteration ends at 198. I'm not sure if I'll read past the fourth iteration today. Most likely not. But one thing for definite is that I'm definitely finishing the third iteration today. I'm definitely going to finish the third iteration today. Yeah, I'm definitely finishing the third iteration. And yeah, I'm begin. Get a little sip of water. Yeah, as per usual. Gotta stay hydrated, you know. Hello, Melik PL. Yeah, I'm also recording this stream. I do post on my YouTube too. So yeah. But hey, nice to see you, man. He left a little emoji. A Sparky Rena SIP. Okay. Don't know what that emoji is. I need to find a way to like get my chat visible on my videos. That's something I got to figure out. Not today, not today. Like I said, I'm still a beginning VTuber. But hey, nice to have you around, Malek. Um, we're finishing the third iteration today. Probably won't go any further. Because like this is like the scene. Send another emoji. A Zamoosh he. Yeah, but we'll be finishing the third iteration, and this is like the iconic scene of Jurassic Park. You know, the Rex breaking out. I assume. I wonder if it's going to be any different. I mean, because so far this book has been heavily different from the movie, mainly because they had to cut so much stuff out because it was so gory and bloody and whatnot. You know. But I shall begin. Third iteration. Chapter Big Rex. The mighty Tyrannosaurus arose late in the dinosaur history. Dinosaurs ruled the Earth for 120 million years, but there are tyrannosaurs for only the last 15 million years of that period. The land cruisers had stopped at the rise of the hill. They overlooked the forested area sloping down to the edge of the lagoon. The sun was falling to the west, sinking into a misty horizon. The whole landscape of Jurassic Park was bathed in a soft light with lengthening shadows. The surface of the lagoon rippled in pink crescents. Farther south, they saw the graceful necks of the apatosaurs standing at the water's edge, their bodies mirrored in the moving surface. It was quiet except for the soft drone of cicadas. As they stared out at the landscape, it was possible to believe that they had really been transported millions of years back in time to a vanished world. It works, doesn't it? They heard Ed Regis say over the intercom. I like to come here sometimes in the evening and just sit. Grant was unimpressed. Where's the T-Rex? Good question. You often see the little one down in the lagoon. The lagoon stocks, so we have fish in there. The little one has learned to catch fish. Interesting how he does it. He doesn't use his hands. He ducks his whole head under the water like a bird. The little one? A little T-Rex. He's a juvenile, 2 years old and about third grown now. Stands 8 feet high, weighs a ton and a half. The other one's a fully grown tyrannosaur, but I don't see him at the moment. Maybe he's down hunting the apatosaurs, Grant said. Regis laughed, his voice tinny over the radio. He would if he could, believe me. Sometimes he stands by the lagoon and stares at those animals and wiggles those little forearms of his in frustration. But the T-Rex territory is completely enclosed with trenches and fences. They're disguised from view, but believe me, he can't go anywhere. And where is he? Hiding, Regis said. He's a little shy. Shy, Malcolm said. Tyrannosaurus Rex is shy? Well, he conceals himself as a general rule. You almost never see him out in the open, especially in daylight. Why is that? We think it's because he has sensitive skin and sunburns easily. Malcolm begins to laugh. Grant sighed. You're destroying a lot of illusions. I don't think you'll be disappointed, Regis said. Just wait. They heard a soft bleeding sound. In the center of the field, a small cage rose up into view, lifted on hydraulics from underground. The cage bar slid down, and the goat remained tethered to the center of the field, bleeding plaintively. Any minute now, Regis said again. They stared out the window. Look at them, Hammond said, watching the control room monitor. Leaning out the window, so eager, they can't wait to see it. They've come for the danger. That's what I'm afraid of, Muldoon said. He twirled the keys on his finger and watched the Land Cruisers tensely. This was the first time that visitors had toured Jurassic Park, and Muldoon shared Arnold's apprehension. I do want to pause for a bit. I am sorry that, like, the way they do the dialogue, I can see why most people who do read this book or do audiobooks of it also use, like, pictures because it's kind of hard to know who's talking, especially when we just switch scenes, but we don't exactly define everyone in the room, and then the one person not defined starts talking. It's a little weird. It is a little mind-boggling. So I am sorry if this is hard to follow, but not even I know who's talking when I'm just thrown into the room. They just talk, and then you'll learn later that, oh, it was this person talking. I do find that a little annoying with Crichton's writing. He kind of assumes that you just remember every past thing, or like he's very movie like you're supposed to know who's there just by switching scenes. And I don't get me wrong, there's a place for that. I don't mind it too much. It's just that I think, especially in an audiobook angle without the assistance of pictures, it can get confusing very fast. But I will continue. Wait, hold on. I'm gonna check something. Yeah, all good. Yeah, I need to figure out how to make my chat visible on like my videos. I need to like how like how most streamers, like, even if they have recorded videos of themselves, but then again, that's from the perspective of people who make clips. Yeah, that's from the perspective of people who make clips. Never mind then. Oh, I'll figure out something if I can. I shall continue. Robert Muldoon was a big man, 50 years old, with a steel gray mustache and deep blue eyes. Raised in Kenya. Okay, raised in Kenya? Nah, okay. Muldoon. He may be a drunkard and an old white guy, but he been around the brothers. Okay. Nah, he been around. Okay. We'll see how Muldoon acts. We'll see if he gets a pass by the end of this book. Raised in Kenya, he had spent most of his life as a guide for African big game hunters, as had his father before him. But since 1980, he had worked principally for conservation groups and zoo designers as a wildlife consultant. He had become well known. An article in the London Sunday Times had said, "What Robert Trent Jones is to golf courses, Robert Muldoon is to zoos, a designer of unsurpassed knowledge and skill." In 1986, he had done some work for the San Francisco company that was building a private wildlife park on an island in North America. Muldoon had laid out the boundaries for different animals, defining space and habitat requirements for lions, elephants, zebras, and hippos, identifying which animals could be kept together and which had to be separate. At the time, it had been a fairly routine job. He had been more interested in an Indian park called Tiger World in southern Kashmir. Then a year ago, he was offered, I was about to say officered, offered a job as game warden of Jurassic Park. It coincided with a desire to leave Africa. The salary was excellent. Muldoon had taken it on for a year, and he was astonished to discover the park was really a collection of genetically engineered prehistoric animals. It was, of course, interesting work, but during his years in Africa, Muldoon had developed an unblinking view of animals, an unromantic view, that frequently set him at odds with the Jurassic Park management in California, particularly the little martinet standing beside him in the control room. In Muldoon's opinion, cloning dinosaurs in a laboratory was one thing, maintaining them in the wild was quite another. It was Muldoon's view that some dinosaurs were too dangerous to be kept in a park setting. In part, the danger existed because they knew so little about the animals. For example, nobody even suspected that Dilophosaurs were poisonous until they were observed hunting indigenous rats on the island, biting the rodents and then stepping on the back to wait for them to die. And then nobody suspected Dilophosaurs could spit until one of the handlers was almost blinded by spitting venom. Malek said something. Can you have a romantic view of animals? You have never met a dog person. You never met a dog mom or a dog dad, have you? You know, the type of person who's like, they got their dogs in their bed. They treat them like babies. You ain't never seen that? Trust me, you can have a romantic view of animals. I will admit I have a degree of romanticism for some animals, mainly cats. But I was grown in an environment where like dogs don't go on beds, they don't eat your food unless it's like scraps that you don't want. Like basically how like most third world countries would see something like dogs and cats. Like, yeah, you can pet them, they're cute, but if they serve no purpose, you know, like hunting or guarding, it's just another animal, and sometimes they can be pests. I was growing up in a similar environment. Dogs were kept outside unless it was just freezing cold or wet. And I had a cat in my life, um, and he was an outdoors cat. He actually kept away like roaches and mice, and even squirrels. He did kill a couple squirrels too, but mainly roaches and mice. But when it was like the autumn, like spring, summer, autumn, he was like he would be like literally like 8 hours of the day he would just be gone, just outside. And then at like dusk, I mean, we'll like feed him in the morning, we send him out, and then at dusk he'll come back. Yeah, he was our pet, but he wasn't no loved on, constantly adored and whatnot. Yeah, Chubby was the name of that cat. And he ended up running away because even though he was a domesticated cat through and through, I don't know, I guess he had an appeal for the feral life. It was also because we didn't neuter him, so he was scent marking everywhere, and he had to go back to his territory. And we just let him be because he was shockingly built to be like wild, despite being growing up in a comfy house. Because we got him from some family friends at the time. They had like literally like dozens of cats, and they were all living cushy lives. And despite growing up in a cushy life, he had like the affinity of a feral cat. Which is why, like, yeah, sure, we petted him and he was cute and whatnot, but we didn't let him stay in the bed with us or anything. In fact, he had his own spot. He had his own spot with us. Not even a scratching post, but like a wooden drawer. It was like a no, it was like a desk that had a wooden hood on it, and it was a desk we weren't using. So he would just stay there, and it had scratch marks all over it because he would like what scratching posts are for. He would do that to the wooden desk. Like he had his own spot and everything. And yeah, and like I said, we petted him, we fed him, but he wasn't like the family baby. And I shall continue. Dilophosaurus could spit until one of his handlers was almost blinded by spitting venom. After that, Hammond had agreed to study Dilophosaur venom, which found to contain 7 different toxic enzymes. It was also discovered that the Dilophosaurus could spit a distance of 50 feet. Golly. God, 50 feet? Yeah, no, you're cooked if you ever encounter one, then. You're just cooked. Since this raised the possibility that the guests in the car might be blinded, management decided to remove the poison sacs. The vets had tried twice on 2 different animals without success. No one knew where the poison was being secreted. No one would ever know until an autopsy was performed on a Dilophosaur, and management would not allow one to be killed. Oh yeah, I remember seeing a not even analog horror. Well, that's part of an analog horror series. I forget who does it, but it literally shows like that procedure. Like it shows like a video recording of that procedure and them trying to keep the Dilophosaurus sedated. I remember seeing something like that. I love Jurassic Park. I don't keep up too much with World and so on after the fact. I mainly only stick to the first three movies. I'll continue. Muldoon worried even more about the velociraptors. They were instinctive hunters and they never passed up prey. They killed even when they weren't hungry. They killed for the pleasure of killing. Oof, yeah, that's a sign of intelligence. That's the same thing that got the Indominus Rex like high profile because they were like, oh, this thing is just killing for sport. Yeesh. Yo, yeah, 15 meters? I said it's 50 feet. Does that translate to 15 meters? Hold on. 50 feet, 2 meters. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you're right. And that is as long as almost as long as a volleyball court. Yeah. And the thing can run faster than you too. So unless you have like a car, you ain't out running that thing. Yeah, you're not out running that thing in the slightest. You're just done for. It has a ranged attack. It has sharp teeth and claws. Like, yeah, no, I mean, no wonder why Nedry in the movie was. I mean, he was just doomed from the start. I wonder how they do that scene in the book. I wonder if it's any different. But I shall continue. Uh, Killed for the pleasure of killing. They were swift, strong runners, and astonishing jumpers. They had lethal claws on all four limbs. One swipe of a forearm would disembowel a man, spilling his guts out, and they had powerful tearing jaws that ripped flesh instead of biting it. They were far more intelligent than the other dinosaurs, and they seemed to be natural cage breakers. Every zoo expert knew that certain animals were especially likely to get free of their cages. Some, like monkeys and elephants, could undo cage doors. Others, like wild pigs, were unusually intelligent and could lift the gate fasteners with their snouts. But who would suspect that the giant armadillo was a notorious cage breaker, or the moose? Yet a moose was almost as skillful with its snout as an elephant with its trunk. Moose were always trying to get free. They had a talent for it. And so did velociraptors. Raptors were at least as intelligent as chimpanzees, and like chimpanzees, they had agile hands that enabled them to open doors and manipulate objects. They could escape with ease, and when, as had feared, one of them finally escaped, it killed two construction workers and maimed a third before being recaptured. After that episode, the visitor lodge had been reworked with heavy barred gates, a high perimeter fence, and tempered glass windows, and the raptor holding pen was rebuilt with electronic sensors to warn of another impending escape. Muldoon wanted guns as well, as he wanted to shoulder mountain LAW, or law missile launchers. I don't even know what that means. Hunters knew how difficult it was to bring down a 4-ton African elephant, and some of the dinosaurs weighed 10 times as much. Management was horrified, insisting there be no guns anywhere on the island. When Muldoon threatened to quit and take his story to the press, a compromise was reached. In the end, two specially built laser guided missile launchers were kept in a locked room in the basement. Only Muldoon had the keys to the room. Those were the keys Muldoon was twirling now. I'm going downstairs, he said. Arnold, watching the control room, or the control screens, nodded. The two Land Cruisers sat at the top of the hill waiting for the T-Rex to appear. Hey, Dennis Nedry called from the far console. As long as you're up, get me a Coke. Grant waited in the car, watching quietly. Watching quietly. Let me get some water. It's so weird. I'm producing so much saliva, but my mouth is not lubricated. Grant waited in the car, watching quietly. The bleating of the goat became louder, more insistent. The goat tugged frantically at its tether, racing back and forth. Over the radio, Grant heard Lex saying the alarm. What's going to happen to the goat? Is she going to eat the goat? I think so, someone said to her, and then Ellie turned the radio down. Then they smelled the odor, a garbage stench of putrefaction and decay that drifted up the hillside towards them. Grant whispered, He's here. She, Malcolm said. The goat was tethered in the center of the field, 30 yards from the nearest trees. The dinosaur must be somewhere among the trees, but for a moment Grant could see nothing at all. Then he realized he was looking too low. The animal's head stood 20 feet above the ground, half concealed among the upper branches of the palm trees. Malcolm whispered, Oh my god. She's as large as a bloody building. Grant stared at the enormous square head, 5 feet long, molted reddish brown, and huge jaws and fangs. The Tyrannosaurus jaws worked once, opening and closing, but the huge animal did not emerge from hiding. Malcolm whispered, "How long will it wait? Maybe 3, 4 minutes? Maybe." The Tyrannosaurus sprang silently forward, revealing her enormous body in 4 bounding steps. She covered the distance to the goat, bent down, and bit it through the neck. The bleeding stopped. There was silence. Poised over her kill, the Tyrannosaur became suddenly hesitant. Her massive head turned on the muscular neck, looking in all directions. She stared fixedly at the land cruiser high above on the hill. Malcolm whispered, "Can she see us?" "Oh, yes," Ray just said on the intercom. "Let's see if she's going to eat here in front of us, or if she's going to drag the prey away." Tyrannosaur bent down and sniffed the carcass of the goat. A bird chirped, her head snapped up, alert, watchful. She looked back and forth, scanning in small, jerking shifts. "Like a bird," Ellie said. Still, the Tyrannosaur hesitated. "What is she afraid of?" Malcolm whispered. "Probably another Tyrannosaur," Grant whispered. Big carnivores like lions and tigers often became cautious after a kill, behaving as if suddenly exposed. 19th century zoologists imagined the animals felt guilty for what they had done, but contemporary scientists documented the effort behind a kill. Hours of patient stalking before the final lunge, as well as the frequency of failure. The idea of nature, red in tooth and claw, was wrong. Most often, the prey got away. When the carnivore finally brought down an animal, it was watchful for another predator who might attack it and steal its prize. Thus, this tyrannosaur was probably fearful of another tyrannosaur. uh, Melik says, "Poor goat got disintegrated." Yeah, and I'm shocked that they actually get to. Unlike in the movie, we don't get to see the goat get eaten. We and in this one, we actually get to see the goat killed. I'm actually, and it's not like falling on the top of the Land Cruiser like they did in the movie. I'm actually kind of shocked. I'll continue. The huge animal bent over the goat again. One great hind limb held the carcass in place as the jaws began to tear the flesh. "She's going to stay," Regis whispered. "Excellent." The Tyrannosaur lifted her head again, ragged chunks of bleeding flesh in her jaws. She stared at the land cruiser. She began to chew. They heard the sickening crunch of bones. "Ew," Lex said over the intercom. "That's disgusting." And then, as if caution had finally gotten the better of her, the Tyrannosaur lifted the remains of the goat in her jaws and carried them silently back among the trees. "Ladies and gentlemen, Tyrannosaurus Rex," the tape said. The Land Cruiser started up and moved silently off through the foliage. Malcolm sat back in his seat. "Fantastic," he said. Gennaro wiped his forehead. He looked pale. And oh my goodness. Next chapter is called Control. This is the fourth chapter called Control. If you remember my last reading, we had like the chapter Control like 3 times. This is the fourth time now. Golly. But chapter Control Part 4. Henry Rue came into the control room to find everyone sitting in the dark and listening to the voices on the radio. "Jesus, if an animal like that gets out," Gennaro was saying, his voice tinny on the speaker, "there'd be no stopping it." "No stopping it?" "No. Huge with no natural enemies. My God, think of it." In the control room, Hammond said, "Damn those people. They are so negative." Wu said, "They're still going on about an animal escaping. I don't understand. They must have seen by now that we have everything under control. We've engineered the animal and engineered the resort," he shrugged. It was Wu's deepest perception that the park was fundamentally sound, as he believed his paleo DNA was fundamentally sound. Whatever problems might arise in the DNA were essentially point problems in the code, causing a specific problem in the phenotype. An enzyme that didn't switch on or a protein that didn't fold. Whatever the difficulty, it was always solved with a relatively minor adjustment in the next version. Similarly, he knew that Jurassic Park's problems were not fundamental problems. They were not control problems. Nothing as basic or as serious as the possibility of an animal escaping. Wu found it offensive to think that anyone would believe him capable of contributing to a system where such a thing could happen. "It's that Malcolm," Hammond said darkly. He's behind it all. He was against us from the start, you know. He's got his theories that complex systems can't be controlled and nature can't be imitated. I don't know what his problem is. Hell, we're just making a zoo here. World's full of them, and they all work fine. But he's going to prove his theory or die trying. I just hope he doesn't panic Gennaro into trying to shut the park down. Wu said, "Can he even do that?" "No," Hammond said, "but he can try, and he can try and frighten the Japanese investors. He can get them to withdraw funds, or he can make a stink with the San Jose government. He can make trouble." Arnold stubbed out his cigarette. "Let's wait and see what happens," he said. "We believe in the park. Let's see how it plays out." And I do want to take a moment to pause. I do like how Hammond not liking Ian. That's something that they did carry over from the book to the movie. And again, a question for all of y'all who do watch these: would you like me to do different voices for the characters? I couldn't do it for every single one. All right, I'm not a voice actor, so I can't do tons of different voices, but I can do enough voices. But I mean, just keep in mind that it does put strain on me while I'm reading. So, but I'm just like, just again, just want to put that out there. Would you like me to do different voices for different characters? Understandable. Thank you, Malek. Yeah, because my first two readings, I did use different voices, and well, I think makes it more enjoyable. Does put some strain on me, but again, for those of y'all who are watching this as a recording, let me know in the comments below. I shall continue. Muldoon got off the elevator, nodded to the ground floor guard, and went downstairs to the basement. He flicked on the lights. The basement was filled with 2 dozen Land Cruisers arranged in neat rows. They were electric cars that would eventually form an endless loop touring the park, returning to the visitor center. In the corner was a Jeep with a red stripe, one of 2 gasoline-powered vehicles. Harding, the vet, had taken the other that morning, which could go anywhere in the park, even among the animals. The Jeeps were painted with a diagonal red stripe because for some reason it discouraged the Triceratops from charging the car. Huh. Interesting. Muldoon moved past the Jeep towards the back. The steel door to the armament rooms was unmarked. He unlocked it with his key, and with the swung the heavy door wide. Gun racks lined the interior. He pulled out a Randier shoulder launcher and a case of canisters. He tucked 2 gray rockets under his other arm. After locking the door behind him, he put the gun into the back seat of the Jeep. As he left the garage, he heard the distant rumble of thunder. Oh, the rain scene's coming. Looks like rain, Ed Reed just said, glancing up at the sky. The Land Cruiser had stopped again near the sauropod swamp. A large herd of apatosaurs was grazing at the edge of the lagoon, eating the leaves of the upper branches of the palm trees. In the same area were several duck-billed hadrosaurs, in which in comparison looked much smaller. Of course, Tim knew the hadrosaurs weren't really small. It was only that the apatosaurs were so much larger. Their tiny heads reached 50 feet into the air, extending out onto their long necks. The big animals you see are commonly called brontosaurs, the recording said, but they're actually apatosaurs. They weigh more than 30 tons. That means a single animal is as big as a whole herd of modern elephants. And you may notice that the preferred area alongside the lagoon is not swampy. Despite what the books say, brontosaurs avoid swamps. They prefer dry land. Brontosaurus is the biggest dinosaur, Lex, Ed Regis said. Tim didn't bother to contradict him. Actually, Brachiosaurus was 3 times as large, and some people, thought Ultrasaurus and Seismosaurus were even larger than Brachiosaurus. Seismosaurus might have weighed 100 tons. Alongside the apatosaurs, the smaller hadrosaurs stood on their hind legs to get at foliage. They moved gracefully for such large creatures. Several infant hadrosaurs scampered around the adults, eating the leaves that dropped from their mouths of the larger animals. The dinosaurs of Jurassic Park don't breed, the recording said. The young animals you see here were introduced a few months ago, already hatched, but the adults nurtured them anyway. There was a rolling growl of thunder. The sky was darker and lower and menacing. Yeah, looks like rain, all right, Red Regis said. The car started forward, and Tim looked back at the hadrosaurs. Suddenly, off to one side, he saw a pale yellow animal moving quickly. There were brownish stripes on its back. He recognized it instantly. Hey, he shouted. Stop the car. What is it? Ed Regis said. Quick, stop the car. We move on now to see the last of our great prehistoric animals, the Stegosaurus, recorded voice said. What's the matter, Tim? I saw one. I saw one in the field out there. I saw one in the field out there. I saw what? A raptor in the field. The Stegosaurus are a mid Jurassic animal evolving about 170 million years ago, the recording said. Several of the remarkable herbivores live here at Jurassic Park. Golly, I keep over salivating for some reason, and it's impeding my ability to read. Golly, sorry, I'm stuttering, but not because I'm can't read. It's because I keep over salivating, and I don't know why. Raptor in the field. The Stegosaurus are a mid Jurassic animal evolving about 170 million years ago, the recording said. Several of these remarkable herbivores live here at Jurassic Park. Oh, I don't think so, Tim, Ed Regis said. Not a raptor. I did. Stop the car. There was a babble on the intercom as the news was relayed to Grant and Malka. Tim said he saw a raptor. Where? Back at the field. Let's go back and look. We can't go back, Ed Regis said. We can only go forward. The car's a program. We can't go back? Grant said. No, Regis said. Sorry. You see, it's kind of a right. Tim, this is Professor Malcolm, said a voice cutting on the intercom. Golly. I have one question for you about this raptor. How old would you say it was? Older than the baby we saw today, Tim said, and younger than the big adults in the pen. The adults were 6 feet tall. This one was about half that size. That's fine, Malcolm said. I only saw it for a second, Tim said. I'm sure it wasn't a raptor, Ed Regis said. It couldn't possibly be a raptor. Must have been one of the other must have been one of the Othies? Oh, they're always jumping the fences. We have a hell of a time with them. I know I saw a raptor, Tim said. I'm hungry, Lex said. She was starting to whine. In the control room, Arnold turned to Wu. What do you think the kids saw? I think it must have been an Authie. Arnold nodded. We have trouble tracking Authie's because they spend so much time in the trees. The Authie's were an exception to the usual minute-to-minute control they maintained over the animals. The computers were constantly losing and picking up the Authie's as they went into the trees and then came down again. Malek. Okay, I'm going to sleep. All right. Have a good night, Malek. This is nice having you. But I'm still going to be reading, and again, you can follow me on my YouTube, Glitch Demon, and you can get the rest of this reading later. You have a good night, man. Right. The Authie's. Where was I? The computers were constantly losing and picking up the Authie's as they went into the trees and then came down again. What burns me, Hammond said, is that we have made this wonderful park, this fantastic park, and our very first visitors are going through it like accountants, just looking for problems. They aren't experiencing the wonder of it at all. That's the problem, Arnold said. We can't make them experience wonder. The intercom clinked, and Arnold heard a voice draw. Ah, John, this is the NB over at the dock. We haven't finished offloading, but I'm looking at the storm pattern south of us. I'd rather not be tied up here if it gets this chop any worse. Oh, I am following it. Thank you, Malek. But again, you have a good night, man. I shall continue reading. Arnold turned to the monitor showing the cargo vessel, which was moored at the dock at the east side of the island. He pressed the radio button. How much left to do, Jim? Just 3 final equipment containers. I haven't checked the manifest, but I assume you can wait another 2 weeks for it. We're not well berthed here, you know, and we are 100 miles offshore. You're requesting permission to leave? Yes, John. I want that equipment, Hammond said. That equipment is for the labs. We need it. Yes, Arnold said, but you didn't want to put money into a storm barrier to protect the pier, so we don't have a good harbor. If the storm gets worse, the ship will be pounded against the dock. I've seen ships lost that way. Then you got all the other expenses, replacement of the vessel plus salvage to clear your dock. And you can't use your dock until you do. Hammond gave a dismissing wave. Get them out of here. Permission to leave, Ann B., Arnold said into the radio. See you in 2 weeks, said the voice. On the video monitor, they saw the crew on the decks casting off the lines. Arnold turned back to the main console bank and he saw the land cruisers moving through the fields of steam. Where are they now? Hammond said. Looks like the south fields, Arnold said. The southern end of the island had more volcanic activity than the north. That means they should almost be at the Stegos. I'm sure they'll stop and see what Harding is doing. Next chapter, Stegosaur. Mm-hmm. As the land cruisers came to a stop, Ellie Statler stared through the plumes of steam at the Stegosaurus. It was standing quietly, not moving. A jeep with a red stripe was parked alongside it. I have to admit, that's a funny looking animal, Malcolm said. The Stegosaurus was 20 feet long with a huge, bulky body and vertical armored plates along its back. The tail had dangerous looking 3-foot spikes, but the neck tapered to an absurdly small head with a stupid gaze, like a very dumb horse. As they watched, a man walked around from behind the animal. That's our vet, Dr. Harding, Regis said over the radio. He's anesthetized the stego, which is why it's not moving. It's sick. Grant was already getting out of the car, hurrying towards the motionless stegosaur. Ellie got out and looked back at the second land cruiser as the second land cruiser pulled up and the two kids jumped out. What is he sick with? Tim said. They aren't sure, Ellie said. The great leathery plates along Stegosaurus' spine drooped slightly. It breathed slowly, laboriously, making a wet sound with each breath. Is it contagious? Lex said. They walked towards the tiny head of the animal where Grant and the vet were on their knees, peering into the Stegosaurus' mouth. Lex wrinkled her nose. This thing sure is big, she said, and smelly. Yes, it is. Ellie had already noticed the stegosaur had a peculiar odor, like rotting fish. It reminded her of something she knew but couldn't quite place. In any case, she had never smelled a stegosaur before. Maybe this was its characteristic odor, but she had her doubts. Most herbivores did not have a strong smell, nor did their droppings. It was reserved for the meat eaters to develop a real stink. Is that because it's sick? Lex asked. Maybe, and don't forget that the vets tranquilized it. Ellie, have a look at its tongue, Grant said. The dark purple tongue drooped limply from the animal's mouth. The vet shone a light on it so he could see a very fine silvery blisters. Microvesicles, Ellie said. Interesting. We have a difficult time with these stegos, the vet said. They're always getting sick. What are the symptoms? Ellie asked. She scratched her tongue with her fingernail. A clear liquid exuded from the broken blisters. Ugh, Lex said. Imbalance, disorientation, labored breathing, and massive diarrhea, Harding said. Seems to happen about once every 6 weeks or so. They feed continuously? Oh, yes, Harding said. Animal this size has to take in a minimum of 500 or 600 pounds of plant matter daily just to keep going. They're constant foragers. Then it's likely not to be poisoning from a plant, Ellie said. Constant browsers would be constantly sick if they were eating a toxic plant, not every 6 weeks. Exactly, the vet said. May I? Ellie asked. She took the flashlight from the vet. You have pulpitary effects from the tranquilizer? She said, shining the light in the Stegosaurus's eye. Yes, there's meiotic effect. Pupils are constricted, but these pupils are dilated. Harding looked. There was no questioning. The Stegosaurus pupil was dilated and did not contract when the light shone on it. I'll be damned, he said. That's a pharmacological effect. Yes, Ellie got back on her feet and looked around. What is the animal's range? About 5 square miles. In this general area, she asked, they were in an open meadow with scattered rocky outcrops and intermittent plumes of steam rising from the ground. It was late afternoon, the sky was pink beneath the lowering gray clouds. The range is mostly north and east of here, Harding said, but when they get sick, they're usually somewhere around this particular area. It was an interesting puzzle, she thought, how to explain this periodicity of the poisoning. She pointed across the field. See those low, delicate looking bushes? West Indian lilac, Harding nodded. We know it's toxic. The animals don't eat it. You sure? Yes, we monitored them on video. I've checked droppings just to be certain. The stegos never eat the lilac bushes. Melia azadirach, called Chinaberry or West Indian lilac, contained a number of toxic alkaloids. The Chinese use the plant as a fish poison. They don't eat it, the vet said. Interesting, Ellie said, because otherwise I would have said this animal shows all the classic signs of meliotoxicity, stupor, blistering of the mucous membranes, and pulpitary dilation. She set off towards the field and examined the plants more closely. Her body bent over the ground. You're right, she said. Plants are healthy, no sign of being eaten. None at all. And there's a 6 week interval, the vet reminded her. The stegosauruses come here how often? About once a week, he said. Stegos make a slow sloop through their home range territory, feeding as they go. They complete the loop in about a week. But they're only sick once every 6 weeks. Correct. This is boring, Lex said. Shh, Tim said. Dr. Sattler's trying to think. Unsuccessfully, Ellie said, walking farther out into the field. Okay, they got jokes. I love this dialogue. The dialogue is actually pretty. It's a little witty at times. I mean, jokes aren't Creighton's. I mean, irony is kind of his thing. And what's it call it when like you know something but the characters don't? Is ain't that irony in a way? I forget. Oh my goodness, what's that called again? Oh my god, hold on. I gotta look this up real quick. I know there's a term for that. Oh yeah, irony, dramatic irony, when the audience knows more than the characters. Well, I mean, I guess you unless you've read this book before, which I haven't, that wouldn't apply to me. I don't know. There's a term for like. I mean, yeah, it definitely specializes in like irony kind of humor. But I guess irony doesn't really work if you don't know what happens, right? I mean, I know irony is also like what you assume to happen because there are common punchlines, but yeah, I shall continue. Unsuccessfully, Ellie said, walking farther out into the field. Behind her, she heard Lex saying, Anybody want to play a little pickle? Ellie stared at the ground. The field was rocky in many places. She could hear the sound of the surf somewhere to the left. There were berries among the rocks. Perhaps the animals were just eating berries. That didn't make sense. West Indian lilac berries were terribly bitter. Finding anything? Grant said, coming up to join her. Ellie sighed. Just rocks, she said. We must be near the beach because all these rocks are smooth. They're in funny little piles. Funny little piles. All over. There's one pile right there, she pointed out. As soon as she did, she realized what she was looking at. The rocks were worn, but it had nothing to do with the ocean. These rocks were heaped in small piles, almost as if they had been thrown down that way. These were piles of gizzard stones. Many birds and crocodiles swallowed small stones, in which collected in a muscular pouch in the digestive tract called the gizzard. Squeezed by the muscle of the gizzard, the stones helped crush tough plant food before it reached the stomach, thus aided digestion. Some scientists thought dinosaurs also had gizzard stones. For one thing, dinosaurs' teeth were too small and too little worn, and to have been used for chewing food. It's presumed that the dinosaurs swallowed their food whole and let the gizzard stones break down the plant fibers. Some skeletons that have been found with an associated pile of small stones in the abdominal area some skeletons have been found with an associated pile of small stones in the abdominal area, but it had never been verified. And gizzard stones, Grant said. I think so, yes. They swallow these stones, and after a few weeks, the stones are worn smooth. So they regurgitate them, leaving this little pile, and swallow fresh stones. And when they do, they swallow the berries as well and get sick. I'll be damned, Grant said. I'm sure you're right. He looked at the pile of stones, brushing through them with his hand, following the instinct of a paleontologist. Then he stopped. Ellie, he said, take a look at this. Put it there, babe, right in the old mitt, Lex cried. Gennaro threw the ball to her. Yeah, I'm loving tomboy Lex. I'm loving this. I mean, she is a little one dimensional, but then again, she's like 8 years old, so like, yeah. But I'm loving tomboy Lex. I'm loving this. She's about to. I know that somewhere down the line, she about to become like the screaming princess that Grant has to save, and Tim too. Because again, in the movie, they switch the ages of the kids. Like the boy is the younger one, the girl's the older one. I'm liking this dynamic more, where Tim is the older one and Lex is the younger one. It's like and like Lex is just this baseball obsessed girl. In a way, kind of reminds me of Clementine from The Walking Dead because she wears that Dodgers cap that her dad gave her. Kind of reminds me of Clementine to an extent. I ain't even gonna lie. Um, Put it there, babe, right in the old mitt. Talking at this point, just give her a tin of like Kodiak snuff. Kodiak dip. Not snuff is different. Snuff is the powdered tobacco up your nose. Dip is the chopped up tobacco that you put in your mouth. Put it there, babe, right in the old mitt, Lex cried, and Gennaro threw the ball to her. She threw it back so hard that his hand stung. Take it easy. I don't have a glove. You wimp, she said contemptuously. Annoyed, he fired the ball at her, and he heard it smack in the leather. Now that's more like it, she said. Oh, yeah, I'm loving this. I'm loving this. This girl is just enjoying life. Parents going through a divorce, but she's trying to be in the ball game. What's that? Like the American ball game song. Why am I saying American ball game song? Like I'm not American. Like take me to the ball game or something like that. I ain't never actually heard that. I mean, I've heard it, but I don't think I've ever listened to it. Like take me to the ball game. Take me to the ball game. Take me to the ball game. And chew some sunflower seeds. It doesn't go like that, but I don't know the actual song. I ain't never had anyone sit down and seriously sing that to me. Yeah, but then she hit some of the that's more like it, she said. Oh my gosh. I don't know. I guess maybe it's like the joy of a child just having fun. Because, like, she's just having fun, even though she's on this dangerous island. That innocence hasn't been broken yet by the dinosaurs yet. I'm assuming that when we get to like the T-Rex scene and all of that, we better switch up like crazy. Like this, like I ain't gonna lie. So far, this book has been fairly lighthearted. We started dark with that, with the raptor attack that Ed Regis brought in a guy and whatnot. We start dark, especially all scientific, like, oh man, what is this? The dinosaurs, the lore. And then we get to the island. We actually kind of chill for a bit, even though we do focus on a lot. Like, I think ever since the kids get introduced, we get an air of lightheartedness. Like Lex playing with Gennaro, and didn't she also play with Regis a little earlier before the tour? I'm actually liking this. Like, the kids add this air of like, oh my goodness, we can actually calm down and chill because we can actually chill because like, hey, we got the kids here, we here for the adventure, we are dun, 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 just all that. Like the kids being around really, it makes it not feel so clinical and cynical even. Because all of them just pointing out all the flaws. All the adults, save for Regis, is just pointing out all the flaws. It's good to have the kids there, bring that air of lift and see like the wonder. Like let me tell you, there is nothing like the wonder of a kid's eyes when they are impressed. Whether it be like, I don't know, like your sister telling you something she learned in school, or for personally, I'm a musician. I played in front of kids before. I play banjo. When I'm just playing and they're just like enamored, that's like there's something about like when a child is like enamored that is like it just changes the whole atmosphere of a room. I'm just yapping. Let me get back to reading. That's what y'all here for. Y'all not here to hear me yap. Golly. I need to get my hand animation straight too, but yeah, I can't even do hand animations yet. It gotta be more than just this. Yeah, I gotta be like what's the chain smoker VTuber? Absolute unit. I gotta get that hand movement. I may need another webcam. I don't know. I don't know. Again, let me read. Let me read. Y'all are here because you want me to read, not to yap. That's more like it, she said. Standing by the dinosaur, Gennaro continued to play catch as he talked to Malcolm. How does this sick dinosaur fit into your theory? It's predicted, Malcolm said. Gennaro shook his head. Is anything not predicted by your theory? Look, Malcolm said. It's nothing to do with me, it's chaos theory. But I notice nobody's willing to listen to the consequences of the mathematics because they imply very large consequences for human life, much larger than Heisenberg's principle or Gödel's. Oh, no, it's the O with the two dots on top of it. I know how to pronounce this. Gödel's theorem, which everybody rattles on about. Those are actually rather academic considerations, philosophical considerations, but chaos theory concerns everyday life. Do you know why computers were first built? No, Gennaro said. Burnt it in there, Lex yelled. Computers were built in the late 1940s because mathematicians like John von Neumann thought that if you had a computer, a machine that handled a lot of variables simultaneously, you'd be able to predict the weather. Weather would finally fall to human understanding, and men believed that the dream for the next 40 years and men believed that dream for the next 40 years. They believed that prediction was just a function of keeping track of things. If you knew enough, you could predict the weather or predict anything. That's been a cherished scientific belief since Newton. And chaos theory throws it right out the window. It says that you can never predict certain phenomena at all. You can never predict the weather more than a few days away. All the money that has been spent on long range forecasting, about $500 million in the last few decades, money wasted. It's a fool's errand, as it's as pointless as trying to turn lead into gold. You look back at the alchemists and laugh at what they were trying to do, but future generations will laugh at us the same way. We've tried the impossible and spent a lot of money doing it because, in fact, there are great categories of phenomena that are inherently unpredictable. Chaos says that? Yes, and it's astonishing how few people care to hear it, Malcolm said. I gave all this information to Hammond long before he broke ground on this place. You're going to engineer a bunch of prehistoric animals and set them on an island? Fine. A lovely dream. Charming. But it won't go as planned. It is inherently unpredictable, just as the weather is. You told him this? Yes, I also told him where the deviations would occur. Obviously, the fitness of the animals to the environment was one area. The stegosaur is 100 million years old. It isn't adapted to our world. The air is different. The solar radiation is different. The land is different. The insects are different. The sounds are different. The vegetation is different. Everything is different. The oxygen content is decreased. This poor animal is like a human being at a 10,000 feet altitude. Listen to him wheezing. In the other areas, broadly speaking, the ability of the park to control the spread of life forms the ability of the park to control the spread of life forms. See, I said that right. Because the history of evolution is that life escapes all barriers, life breaks free, life expands to new territories, painfully, perhaps even dangerously. But life finds a way. The famous quote. Malcolm shook his head. I don't mean to be so philosophical, but there it is. Gennaro looked over. Ellie and Grant were across the field, waving their arms and shouting. Did you get my Coke? Dennis Nedry asked as Muldoon came back into the control room. Muldoon didn't bother to answer. He went directly to the monitor and looked at what was happening. Over the radio, he heard Harding's voice saying, "The Stego finally a handle on now." I'm assuming it's staticking. What's that about? Muldoon said. They're down by the South Point, Arnold said. That's why they're breaking up a little. I'll switch them to another channel, but they found out what's wrong with the Stegos, eating some kind of berry. Hammond nodded. I knew we'd solve that sooner or later, he said. It's not very impressive, Gennaro said as he held the white fragment no longer than a postage stamp up on his fingertip in the fading light. Sure about this, Alan? Absolutely sure, Grant said. What gives it away is that the patterning on the interior surface, the patterning on the interior surface, the interior curve. That's literally how the sentence reads. I thought I was reading it wrong. No, it literally said what gives it away is the patterning on the interior surface, the interior curve. Whatever that means. Turn it over and you'll notice a faint pattern of raised lines making roughly triangular shapes. Yes, I see them. Well, I've done out 2 eggs with patterns like that at my site in Montana. Are you saying this is a piece of a dinosaur eggshell? Absolutely. Harding shook his head. These dinosaurs can't breed. Evidently, they can, Gennaro said. That must be a bird egg, Harding said. We have literally dozens of species on the island. Grant shook his head. Look at the curvature. The shell is almost flat. That's from a very big egg. And you notice the thickness of the shell. Unless you have ostriches on this island, it's a dinosaur egg. But they can't possibly breed, Harding insisted. All the animals are female. I know. All I know. Grant said. Is this a dinosaur? Is that this is a dinosaur? Wait, all I know, Grant said, is that this is a dinosaur egg. Malcolm said, can you tell the species? Yes, Grant said. It's a velociraptor egg. And oh my fucking goodness. Control Part 5. Control Chapter Part 5. We just keep going back to Control. Golly. Wow. But I'm again shocked at the movie handled that topic differently. They found eggs with Grant and the kids, and when they after they spent the night in the tree with the apatosaurs or brontosaurs, and they go down and they see that nest, and then for somehow Grant just comes together. I mean, well, they in the movie they explain they use amphibian DNA, I believe, right? I think in the movie they explain they use amphibian DNA for the lost parts of dinosaur DNA. And then that's how Grant in the movie comes up with, oh, they must have used African bullfrogs, or no, he said like some species of frogs can change their sex. And I guess they didn't consider that when using amphibian DNA, which again, I find it odd they use amphibian DNA because why wouldn't you use birds? Birds literally are dinosaurs. We have species that are literally the prototype of birds, like Archaeopteryx, for example. It's literally the prototype of a bird. Like when we say birds, no, we say birds are descendants of dinosaurs. It's more accurate to say birds are dinosaurs. Like birds, I mean, okay, like put it like this: so many turtles, lizards, snakes, crocodilians, and birds are all reptiles. Reptiles is like a very broad term, way broader than we think. And so so like birds are reptiles, which I know is kind of weird to think of them as such, but they are literally reptiles. Dinosaurs are also a reptile. Like reptiles are a very huge class of things. They're a very huge class of things: turtles, snakes, many types of lizards, geckos, chameleons, um, crocodilians, caimans, alligators. Well, that's under crocodilian. And birds, like I just said, birds are a type of reptile, and dinosaurs are reptiles too. You may hear some people say, "Oh, dinosaurs are more related to birds." Well, they're all of those animals are under the category of reptile, and all of them have very different features. Stuff like monitor lizards and like geckos and whatnot, they were like the original reptiles. And crocodilians, like crocodilians are also like a form of the original reptile, and snakes to an extent too. And then those things became over time would grow feathers, and because birds aren't, oh, are birds cold-blooded? Wait, hold on. I have to look that up because I don't know everything. I'm not an expert in this at all. Oh, yeah, birds are not cold blooded, despite being a reptile, which means not all reptiles are cold blooded, you know? But yeah, birds are a type of reptile. Now, again, dinosaurs, I mean, okay, you can think of it like this: dinosaurs were a very recent form of reptile for their time. And in the beginning, they were more reminiscent of like crocodilians and your monitor lizards and stuff like that. But as time went on, we started to see that they started to evolve in their own thing. You can kind of think of dinosaurs as the bridge. I know missing link is not how science works, but like missing links and whatnot for evolution. I know that's not how it works, but you can, in a way, see dinosaurs as a missing link between reptiles and birds. And by reptiles, I mean like your stuff like your monitor lizards and, crocodilians and stuff like that. Like you can kind of see it like that. I know that's not how it works. That's not how it works, but in a way, if you can get what I'm saying, dinosaurs are like the transition from like those staple reptiles into something different, even though it's all still reptiles. It also explains why crocodile and chicken just taste pretty much the same. I shall read. I'll continue. Yeah, I'm sitting here wondering. You're probably sitting here wondering why my videos are like over an hour and 30 minutes long. It's because I spend most of the time yapping. But we're almost done anyway. I think I'll finish this. I'll definitely finish this in like an hour and 30. Control Part 5. Absolutely absurd, Hammond said in the control room, listening to a report over the radio. It must be a bird egg. That's all it can be. The radio crackled. He heard Malcolm's voice. Let's do a little test, shall we? Asked Mr. Arnold to run one of his computer tallies. Now? Yes, right now. I understand you can transmit it to the screen in Dr. Harding's car. Do that too, will you? No problem, Arnold said a moment later. Arnold said. A moment later, the screen in the control room printed out. And yes, I am going to read this. Uh, Total animals 238, 2 tyrannosaurs, 21 myazosaurs, 4 stegosauruses, 8 triceratopses, 49 procompsognathids, 16 ophnelians, 8 velociraptors, 17 apatosaurs, 11 hadrosaurs, 7 dilophosaurs, 6 pterosaurs, 33 hypsitophodontids, 16 euclopocephalids, 18 styracosaurs, and 22 microraptops. I hope you're satisfied, Hammond said. Are you receiving it down there on your screen? We see it, Malcolm said. Everything accounted for, as always. He couldn't keep satisfaction out of his voice. Now then, Malcolm said, can you have the computer search for a different number of animals? Like what? Arnold said. Try 239. Just a minute, Arnold said, frowning. A moment later, the screen printed. Am I. Wait. Okay, so I'm not going to read all of this. Same information as last time, except when it comes to the compies, instead of 49, there's 50. And I'm going to continue reading. Hammond sat forward. What the hell is that? We picked up another compy. Oh, no, wait, that's someone else. What the hell is that? We picked up another compy. From where? I don't know. The radio crackled. Now then, can you ask the computer to search for, let us say, 300 animals? What is he talking about? Hammond said, his voice rising. 300 animals? What is he talking about? Just a minute, Arnold said. That'll take a few minutes. He punched buttons on the screen. The first line of totals appeared. Total animals, 239. I don't understand what he's driving at, Hammond said. I'm afraid I do, Arnold said. He watched the screen. The numbers on the first line were clicking. Total animals, 244. 244, Hammond said. What's going on? The computer is counting the animals in the park, Wu said. All the animals. I thought that's what it always did, he spun. Nedry, have you screwed up again? No, Nedry said, looking up from his console. Computer allows the operator to enter an expected number of animals in order to make the counting process faster, but it's a convenience, not a flaw. He's right, Arnold said. We just always used a base count of 238 because we assumed there couldn't be more. Total animals, 262. Wait a minute, Hammond said. These animals can't breed. The computer must be counting field mice or something. I think so too, Arnold said. It's almost certainly an error in visual tracking, but we'll know soon enough. Hammond turned to Wu. They can't breed, can they? No, Wu said. Total animals, 270. Where are they coming from? Arnold said. Damned if I know, Wu said. They watched the numbers climb. Total animals, 283. Over the radio, they heard Gennaro said, Holy shit, how much more? Then they heard the girl said, I'm getting hungry. When are we going home? Pretty soon, Lex. On the screen, there was a flashing error message. Error. Search params. 300 animals not found. An error, Hammond said, nodding. I thought so. Had the feeling all along there must be an error. But a moment later, the screen printed. Total animals. 292. Species. Tyrannus. Okay, I'm just going to read the found. I'm not going to read the expected because I read the expected on the first line of things because expected was the same as found. I'm going to read the found when saying the species. Tyrannosaurus, found 2. Myazosaurus, found 20. I'm not going to say found. Myazosaurus, 22, formerly 21. Stegosauruses, 4. Triceratops, 8. Choerocompsognathids, 65, formerly 49. Othnelians, 23, formerly 16. Velociraptors, 37, formerly 8. Golly. Apatosaurus, 17. Hadrosaurus, 11. Dilophosaurus, 7. Pterosaurus, 6. Hypsilophontodids, 34, formerly 33. Euplocephalids, 16. Styracosaurus, 18. Microceratops, 22. Total, well, expected 238, but the total found 292. The radio crackled. Now you see the flaw in your procedures, Malcolm said. You only tracked the expected numbers of dinosaurs. You were worried about losing animals, and your procedures were designed to advise you instantly if you had less than the expected number. But that wasn't the problem. The problem is you had more than the expected number. Christ, Arnold said. There can't be more, Ruth said. We know how many we've released. There can't be more than that. Afraid so, Henry, Malcolm said. They're breeding. No. Even if you don't accept Grant's eggshell, you can prove it with your own data. Take a look at the copy's height graph. Arnold will put it up for you. It's a scale. I'm not going to try and read the scale, the picture to you. Notice anything about it? Malcolm said. It's a Gaussian distribution, Ruth said. Normal curve. But didn't you say you introduced the copies in 3 batches at 6-month intervals? Yes. Then you should get a graph with peaks for each of the 3 separate batches that were introduced, Malcolm said, tapping the keyboard, like this. But you didn't get this graph, Malcolm said. The graph you actually got is a graph of a breeding population. Your copies are breeding. Wu shook his head. I don't see how. They're breeding. And so are the ornithopnelians, the Mysosaurus, the the, the Hypsipsicians. I'm assuming that means it's like Hypsip. I don't know if that's just like an excuse to not. Maybe Cretin was just tired of writing that and he just made a dash, or maybe he just, or maybe Malcolm is just not doesn't know the name and he just goes hypsip something. I think that's what it means. Or it's the radio cutting in and out. I'll reread it. They're breeding, and so are the Othnelia, the Myazosaurus, the Hypostilla somethings, and the Velociraptors. Christ, Muldoon said. There are raptors free in the park. Well, it's not that bad, Hammond said, looking at the screen. We have increases in just 3 categories. Well, 5 categories. Very small increases in 2 of them. What are you talking about? Wu said loudly. Don't you know what this means? Of course I know what this means, Henry, Hammond said. It means you screwed up. Absolutely not. You've got breeding dinosaurs out there, Henry. But they're all female, Wu said. It's impossible. There must be a mistake. And look at the numbers. A small increase in the big animals, the Myosaurs and the Hypses. Okay, so Hypses is just what they call them for short. And the big increase in the number of small animals, it just doesn't make sense. It must be a mistake. The radio clicked. Actually not, Grant said. I think these numbers confirm that breeding is taking place in 7 different sites around the island. Breeding sites. The sky was growing darker. Thunder rumbled in the distance, and Grant and the others stood leaned in the doors of the Jeep, staring at the screen on the dashboard. Breeding sites? Bruce said over the area of the radio. Nests, Grant said. Assuming the average clutches 8 to 12 hatching eggs, these data would indicate the compies have 2 nests. The raptors have 2 nests. The Othies have 1 nest. The Hypsies and the Myazes have 1 nest each. Where are these nests? We'll have to find them, Grant said. Dinosaurs build their nests in secluded places. But why are there so few big animals? Wu said. If there is a Maya nest of 8 to 12 eggs, there should be 8 to 12 new Mayas, not just one. That's right, Grant said, except that the raptor and the compies that are loose in the park are probably eating the eggs of the bigger animals, and perhaps eating the newly hatched young as well. But we never seen that, Arnold said over the radio. Raptors are nocturnal, he said. Is anyone watching the park at night? There was a long silence. I didn't think so, Grant said. It still doesn't make sense, Wu said. You can't support 50 additional animals on a couple of nests of eggs. No, Grant said. I assume they are eating something else as well. Perhaps small rodents, mice, and rats. There was another silence. Let me guess, Grant said. When you first came to the island, you had a problem with rats, but as time passed, the problem faded away? Yes, that's true. And you never thought to investigate why? Well, we just assumed, Arnold said. Look, Wu said, the fact remains all the animals are female. They can't breed. Grant had been thinking about that. He had recently learned of an intriguing West German study that he had suspected held the answer. When you made your dinosaur DNA, Grant said, you were working with fragmentary pieces, is that right? Yes, Wu said. In order to make a complete strand, were you ever required to include DNA fragments from other species? Occasionally, yes, Wu said. It's the only way to accomplish the job. Sometimes we included avian DNA from a variety of birds and sometimes reptilian DNA. Any amphibian DNA, specifically frog DNA? Possibly. I'd have to check. Check, Grant said. I think you'll find that holds the answer. Malcolm said, Frog DNA? Why frog DNA? Gennaro said impatiently, Listen, this is all very intriguing, but we're forgetting the main question. Why have any animals gotten off the island? Wait, main question. Have any animals gotten off the island? Grant said, We can't tell from these data. Then how are we going to find out? There's only one way I know, Grant said. We'll have to find the individual dinosaur nests, inspect them, and count the remaining egg fragments. From that, we may be able to determine how many animals were originally hatched, and then we can begin acts to assess whether any are missing. Malcolm said, Even so, you won't know if the missing animals are killed or dead from natural causes or whether they have left the island. No, Grant said, but it's a start, and I think we can get more information from intensive look at the population graph. How are we going to find these nests? Actually, Grant said, I think the computer will be able to help us with that. Can we go back now? Lex said. I'm hungry. Yes, let's go, Grant said, smiling at her. You've been very patient. You'll be able to eat in about 20 minutes, Ed Regis said, starting towards the two land cruisers. I'll stay for a while, Ellie said, and get photos of the stego with Harding's camera. These vesicles in the mouth will have to be cleared up by tomorrow. I wanted to get back, Grant said. I'll go with the kids. I will too, Malcolm said. I think I'll stay, Gennaro said, and go back with Harding in his Jeep with Dr. Sattler. Fine, let's go. They started walking. Malcolm said, Why exactly is our lawyer staying? Grant shrugged. I think it might have something to do with Dr. Sattler. Really? The shorts, you think? It's happened before, Grant said. Okay. Okay. I mean, we get it. I mean, we knew that when Ellie was described, we knew that she was a bombshell. I mean, we all knew that. We know that she was, let's just say, we knew she was caked up. I mean, we just knew. I mean, do y'all need to go back to my revision of the first chapter? I mean, I'm pretty sure they described her rather voluptuously. Which and she only wearing shorts and like tight shirt. Like they basically have like what's that one anime character? They basically have a Marin Kitagawa or something like that. They have like a Gyaru girl. Yeah, a Gyaru. That's what I'm trying to think of. A Gyaru. They basically have a Gyaru on their hands. Let me continue. Really? The shorts, you think? It's happened before, Grant said. When they came to the Land Cruisers, Tim said, I want to ride in the front one this time with Dr. Grant. Malcolm said, Unfortunately, Dr. Grant and I need to talk. I'll just sit and listen. I won't say anything. It's a private conversation, Malcolm said. Tell you what, Tim, Ed Regis said. Let them sit in the rear car by themselves. We'll sit in the front car and you can use the night vision goggles. Have you ever used night vision goggles, Tim? They're goggles with very sensitive CCDs that allow you to see in the dark. Neat, he said and moved toward the first car. Hey, Lex said. I want to use it too. No, Tim said. No fair, no fair. You get to do everything, Timmy. Ed Regis watched him go and said to Grant, I can see what the ride back is going to be like. Bro, I'm liking the atmosphere. The lighthearted kids, the lighthearted kids bringing up like, because if the kids weren't here, this would be a very boring book. But like, bro, we're kind of going in on like this. We're kind of going in on like this whole like in the movie. It was all like, oh, the whole point is like, oh, they discovered their breeding and the dinosaurs are dangerous. I'm surprised we're kind of finding all of this out before anything really is going wrong. I kind of find that crazy how like we're finding all this out before anything goes wrong. Like we're sitting here like, yo, your dinosaurs are breeding. Like if the kids weren't here, this would be a very boring read with a bunch of scientific chatter. I do like that Crichton, even in the Lost World, Crichton involves kids in it because otherwise it would just be basically just violence and science talk the whole way through. But I shall continue. I can see what the ride back is going to be like. Grant and Malcolm climbed into the second car. A few raindrops splattered on the windshield. Let's get going, Henry just said. I'm about ready for dinner, and I could do with a nice banana daiquiri. What do you say, folks? Daiquiri sound good? He pounded the metal panel of the car. See you back at camp, he said, and he started running towards the first car and climbed aboard. A red light on the dashboard blinked with a soft electric whir. The Land Cruiser started off. Driving back to the fading light, Malcolm seemed oddly subdued. Grant said, "You must feel vindicated about your theory. As a matter of fact, I'm feeling a bit of dread. I suspect we're at a very dangerous point." "Why?" "Intuition. Do mathematicians believe in intuition?" "Absolutely. Very important intuition." "Actually, I was thinking of fractals," Malcolm said. "You know about fractals?" Grant shook his head. "Not really, no. Fractals are a kind of geometry associated with a man named Mandelbrot. Unlike ordinary Euclidean geometry that everybody learns in school, squares and cubes and spheres, fractal geometry appears to describe real objects in the natural world. Mountains and clouds are fractal shapes, so fractals are probably related to reality. Somehow. Well, Mandelbrot found a remarkable thing with his geometric tools. He found that things looked almost identical at different scales. At different scales, Grant said. For example, a big mountain seen from far away has a certain rugged mountain shape. If you get closer and examine a small peak of the big mountain, it will have the same mountain shape. In fact, you can go all the way down to the scale of a tiny speck of rock. Seen under a microscope, it will have the same basic fractal shape as a big mountain. "I don't really see why this is worrying you," Grant said. He yawned. He smelled the sulfur fumes of the volcanic steam. They were coming now to the section of road that ran near the coastline, overlooking the beach and the ocean. "It's a way of looking at things," Malcolm said. "Mandelbrot found a sameness from the smallest to the largest, and this sameness of scale also occurs for events." "Events?" "Consider cotton prices," Malcolm said. "There are good records of cotton prices going back for more than 100 years. When you study fluctuations in cotton prices, you find the graph of price fluctuations in the course of a day basically looks like the graph for a week, which looks basically like the graph for a year or for 10 years. That's how things are. A day is like a whole life. You start out doing one thing but end up doing something else, plan to run an errand but never get there. And at the end of your life, your whole existence is basically has that same haphazard quality too. Your whole life has the same shape as a single day." "I guess it's one way to look at things," Grant said. "No," Malcolm said. "It's the only way to look at things. At least the only way that is true to reality. You see, the fractal idea of sameness carries within it an aspect of recursion, as kind of doubling back on itself, which means that events are unpredictable, that they can change subtly and without warning." "Okay, but we have soothed ourselves into imagining sudden change as something that happens outside the normal order of things, an accident like a car crash, or beyond our control like a fatal illness. We do not conceive of sudden, radical, irrational change as built into the very fabric of existence, and yet it is, and chaos theory teaches us," Malcolm said, "that straight linearity, which we have come to take for granted in everything from physics to fiction, simply does not exist. Linearity is an artificial way of viewing the world. Real life isn't a series of interconnected events occurring one after another like beads strung on a necklace. Life is actually a series of encounters in which one event may change those that follow in a wholly unpredictable, even devastating way." Malcolm sat back in his seat, looking towards the other Land Cruiser a few yards ahead. "That's a deep truth about the structure of our universe, but for some reason we insist on behaving as if it were not true." At that moment, the cars jolted to a stop. "What's happened?" Grant said. Up ahead, they saw the kids in the car pointing towards the ocean. Offshore, beneath the lowering clouds, Grant saw a dark outline of a supply boat making its way back toward Punta Arenas. "Why have we stopped?" Malcolm said. Grant turned on the radio and heard the girl saying excitedly, "Look there, Timmy. You see it? It's there." Malcolm squinted at the boat. "They talking about the boat?" "Apparently." Ed Regis climbed out of the front car and came running back to their window. "I'm sorry," he said, "but the kids are all worked up. Do you have binoculars here?" "For what?" "Little girl says she sees something on the boat. Some kind of animal," Regis said. Grant grabbed the binoculars and rested his elbows on the window ledge of the Land Cruiser. He scanned the long shape of the supply ship. It was so dark it was almost a silhouette. As he watched, the ship's running lights came on, brilliant in the dark purple twilight. You see anything? Regis said. No, Grant said. They're low down, Lex said, over the radio. Look low down. Grant tilted the binoculars down, scanning the hole just above the waterline. The supply ship was broad beamed with a splash flange that ran the length of the ship, but it was quite dark now, and he could hardly make out the details. No, nothing. I can see them, Lex said impatiently. Near the back. Look near the back. How can she see anything in this light? Malcolm said. Kids can see, Grant said. They got visual acuity we forgot we ever had. He swung the binoculars toward the stern, moving them slowly, and suddenly he saw the animals. They were playing, darting amongst the silhouetted stern structures. He could tell that they were upright animals, about 2 feet tall, standing with stiff, balancing tails. You see them now? Lex said. I see them, he said. What are they? They're raptors, Grant said. At least two, maybe more. Juveniles. Jesus, Ed Regis said. That boat's going to the mainland. Malcolm shrugged. Don't get excited. Just call the control room and tell them to recall the boat. Ed Regis reached in and grabbed the radio from the dashboard. He heard hissing static and clicks as he rapidly changed channels. There's something wrong with this one, he said. It's not working. He ran off to the first Land Cruiser. They saw him duck into it, and then he looked back at them. There's something wrong with both radios, he said. I can't raise the control room. Then let's get going, Grant said. In the control room, Muldoon stood before the big windows that overlooked the park. At 7 o'clock, the court's flooded lights came on all over the island, turning the landscape into a glowy jewel stretching away to the south. This was the favorite moment of the day. This was his favorite moment of the day. He heard the crackle of static from the radios. The Land Cruisers have started again, Arnold said. They're on their way home. But why did they stop, Hammond said, and why can't we talk to them? I don't know, Arnold said. Maybe they turned off the radios in their cars? Probably the storm, Muldoon said. Interference from the storm. They'll be here in 20 minutes, Hammond said. You better call down and make sure the dining room's ready for them. Those kids are going to be hungry. Arnold picked up the phone and heard steady monotone hiss. What's this? What's going on? Jesus, hang that up, Nedry said. You'll screw up the data stream. You've taken all the phone lines, even the internal ones. I've taken all the lines that communicate outside, Nedry said. But your internal lines should still work. Arnold punched console buttons one after another, hearing nothing but hissing on all the lines. Looks like you've got them all. Sorry about that, Nedry said. I'll clear a couple for you at the end of the next transmission in about 15 minutes, he yawned. Looks like a long weekend for me. Guess I'll get that can of Coke now. He picked up his shoulder bag and headed for the door. Don't touch my console, okay? The door closed. What a slob, Hammond said. Yeah, Arnold said, but I guess he knows what he's doing. I just like no one likes Nedry. I mean, no one liked Nedry in the movie too, but that's just funny. Along the side of the road, clouds of volcanic steam misted rainbows in the bright quartz lights. Grant said into the radio, "How long does it take for the ship to reach the mainland?" 18 hours, Ed Regis said. More or less. It's pretty reliable. He glanced at his watch. It should arrive around 11 tomorrow morning. Grant frowned. You still can't talk to the control room? Not so far. How about Harding? Can you reach him? No, I've tried. He may have his radio turned off. Malcolm was shaking. So we're the only ones who know about the animals on the ship. I'm trying to raise somebody, Ed Regis said. I mean, Christ, we don't want those animals on the mainland. How long until we get back to the base? From here, another 16, 17 minutes. 17 minutes? I'll shut up. At night, the whole road was illuminated by big floodlights. It felt to Grant as if they were driving through a bright green tunnel of leaves. Large raindrops spattered at the windshield. Grant felt the Land Cruiser slow, then stop. Now what? Lex said, I don't want to stop. Why did we stop? Then suddenly, all the floodlights went out. The road was plunged into darkness. Lex said, Hey! Probably just a power outage or something. Ed Regis said, I'm sure the lights will be on in a minute. What the hell? Arnold said, staring at his monitors. What happened? Muldoon said. You lose power? Yeah, but the only power on the perimeter. But only the power on the perimeter. Everything in this building is working fine, but outside in the park, the power is gone. Lights, TV, cameras, everything. His remote video monitor has gone black. What about the two Land Cruisers? Stop somewhere around the Tyrannosaurus padlock. Well, Muldoon said, call maintenance and let's get the power back on. Arnold picked up one of his phones and heard hissing. Nedry's computers talking to each other. Wait, heard hissing. Nedry's computers talking to each other. No phones. That damn Nedry. Nedry, where the hell is he? Dennis Nedry pushed open the door marked fertilization with a perimeter power out. All the security card locks were disarmed. Every door in the building opened with a touch. The problem with the security system were high on Jurassic Park's bugless. Nedry wondered if anybody ever imagined that it wasn't a bug, that Nedry had programmed it that way. He had built it in a classic trap door. Few programmers of large computer systems could resist the temptation to leave themselves a secret entrance. Partly it was common sense. If inept users locked up the system and men called for you to help, you always had a way to get in and repair the mess. And partly it was kind of your signature. Kilroy was here, and partly it was insurance for the future. Nedry was annoyed with the Jurassic Park project. Late in the schedule, InGen had demanded extensive modifications to the system, but hadn't been willing to pay for them, arguing they should be included under the original contract. Lawsuits were threatened, letters were written to Nedry's other clients, implying that Nedry was unreliable. It was blackmail, and in the end, Nedry had been forced to eat his overages on Jurassic Park and to make the changes that Hammond wanted. But later, when he was approached by Louis Dodgson at Biosyn, Nedry was ready to listen and able to say that he could indeed get past Jurassic Park security. He could get into any room, any system, anywhere in the park because he had programmed it that way just in case. He entered the fertilization room. The lab was deserted. As he had anticipated, all the staff were at dinner. Nedry unzipped his shoulder bag and removed the can of Gillette shaving cream. He unscrewed the base and saw the interior was divided into a series of cylindrical slots. He pulled on a pair of heavy insulated gloves and opened the walk-in freezer, marked contents viable, biological, maintained, negative 10 degrees Celsius minimum. The freezer was the size of a small closet with shelves from floor to ceiling. Most of the shelves contained reagents and liquids in plastic sacks. To one side, he saw a smaller nitrogen cold box with a heavy ceramic door. He opened it, and a rack of small tubes laid in a cloud of white and liquid nitrogen smoke. The embryos were arranged by species: Stegosaurus, Apatosaurus, Hadrosaurus, Tyrannosaurus. Each embryo is in a thin glass container, wrapped in silver foil, stoppered with polyline. Nedry quickly took two of each, slipping them into the shaving cream can. Then he screwed the base of the can shut and twisted the top. There was a hiss of releasing gas inside, and the can frosted in his hands. Dodgson had said there was enough coolant to last 36 hours, more than enough time to get back to San Jose. Nedry left the freezer, returned to the main lab. He dropped the can back in his bag and zipped it shut. He went back in the hallway. The theft had taken less than 2 minutes. You could imagine the consternation upstairs in the control room as they began to realize what had happened. All their security codes were scrambled and all their phone lines were jammed. Without his help, it would take hours to untangle the mess. But in a few minutes, Nedry would be back in the control room setting up things right. And no one would ever suspect what he had done. Grinning, Dennis Nedry walked down to the ground floor, nodded to the guard, and continued downstairs through the basement. Passing the neat lines of electric Land Cruisers, he went into the gasoline-powered Jeep parked against the wall. He climbed into it, noticing some odd gray tubing in the passenger seat. It almost looked like a rocket launcher. He thought as he turned the ignition key and started the Jeep. Nedry glanced at his watch. From here into the park, 3 minutes straight into the East Dock. 3 minutes from there to the back to the control room. Piece of cake. Damn it, Arnold said, punching buttons on the console. It's all screwed up. Muldoon was standing at the windows, looking out of the park. The lights had gone out all over the island except in the immediate area around the main buildings. He saw a few staff personnel hurrying to get out of the rain, but no one seemed to realize anything was wrong. Muldoon looked over at the visitor lodge, where the lights burned brightly. Uh-oh, Arnold said. We have real trouble. What's that? Muldoon said as he turned away from the window so he didn't see the Jeep drive out the underground garage and head east along the maintenance road into the park. That idiot Nedry turned off the security systems, Arnold said. The whole building's opened up. None of the doors are locked anymore. I'll notify the guards. That's the least of it, Arnold said. When you turn off the security, you turn off all peripheral fences as well. The fences? Muldoon said. The electrical fences, Arnold said. They're off all over the island. You mean... That's right, Arnold said. The animals can get out now. Arnold lit a cigarette. Probably nothing will happen, but you never know. Muldoon started towards the door. I better drive out and bring in the people from those two land cruisers, he said, just in case. Muldoon quickly went downstairs to the garage. He really wasn't worried about the fences going down. Most of the dinosaurs had been in their paddocks for 9 months or more, and they had brushed up against the fences more than once with notable results. Muldoon knew how quickly animals learn to avoid shock stimuli. You could train a laboratory pigeon with just 2 or 3 stimulation events, so it was unlikely the dinosaurs would now approach the fences. Muldoon was more concerned about what the people in the cars would do. He didn't want them getting out in the Land Cruisers because once the power came back on, the cars would start moving again. Whether the people were inside them or not, they might be left behind. Of course, in the rain, it was unlikely they would leave the cars, but still, you never knew. He reached the garage and hurried towards the Jeep. If it and hurried towards the Jeep. It was lucky, he thought, that he had the foresight to put the launchers in it. He could start right now and be out there, and it was gone. What the hell? Muldoon stared at the empty parking lot, astonished. The Jeep was gone. What the hell was happening? That is the end of the third iteration. It seems that everything goes wrong in the fourth iteration. I mean, enough has gone wrong as is already, though. I mean, bruh, we literally saw that two raptors were on the back of a boat. I'm kind of liking this different angle of Jurassic Park. See, movie, it was Dinosaur Theme Park gone wrong. This series in the actual book, it's more so, okay, let's check out this dinosaur theme park. And then they see it and they're like, bro, you're like Hammond. This joint is not safe. I get you're trying to invoke awe and wonder and get money, but this is not safe. And they even notice, like, and they're like sitting here, like, and because that's the thing, the idea of dinosaurs being on the mainland, we know that's the thing because the girl that got bit by a Procompsognathus, we know that they have somehow got on the mainland. And you mean to tell me raptors got on the boat? Oh my goodness, like the chaos is there, even though no one has died yet, other than the two people and that Muldoon witnessed being killed and the one severely injured. Other than those, we literally have no casualties. But like so much is going wrong, even though we have no casualties. Like you get this mix of learning about these animals, learning about the dinosaurs, but also learning that that because they're not of this world, this is like everything's going wrong. I mean, Ian Malcolm's like, his chaos theory is just coming true. And it's just so crazy. Like so much is going wrong at the same time. And it's just crazy. But that was my reading of Jurassic Park. We are done with the third iteration, and next time we read, we will be on the fourth iteration. I hope y'all enjoyed this, and I hope y'all didn't mind my yaps throughout along the way. And yeah, I am ready for things to go down. I hope you are too. We are finally at what we want to see. Dinosaurs just sliming everybody out. We're finally there. We're about to see some people just get slimed out. Just dinosaurs straight eating people. We're about to see we're about to see some YD activity. YD, young dino activity. We're about to see some young dino activity. Literally young dinosaurs. They're not even like most of these dinosaurs are not even years old. Like I don't even think like they're still single digits. Or they're a couple months old, most of these dinosaurs. So like yeah. So like we're about to see some young dino activity. But for all my people watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, and leave a comment and let me know what you think of the video. And again, even though we're still reading Jurassic Park, let me know what other books you want me to read. I'll see if I can get them and read the rest of them. I will do The Lost World, but I don't think I want to do that one immediately after Jurassic Park. I think I do want to break it up a bit. And again, remember, nothing too inappropriate, no erotica, nothing over 500 pages, and that's really, yeah, nothing like rated X, nothing like that. But I would do romance stories and whatnot. Just keep it appropriate and under 500 pages. And I do have some exceptions. I will read parts of the Bible, Quran, or the Tripitaka if that's something you also want me to do. Because why not? Religious books do have like some good stories in them, and I will read those as well. Well, I hope you have a great night, day, evening, or afternoon, and I'll catch you next time. Bye, my glitchies.